Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a recent college graduate and it's been a while since it was autumn and I'm not in school. So we are getting smart again, or we're staying smart, I guess you could say. If I'm being so honest, I miss school. I have been in love with the idea of making a personal curriculum, and I've seen this circulate around in different internet communities, mostly on Substack. Mostly inspired by my friend Elle, who has a series on Substack on how she is getting smart again and like her own personal curriculum. Honestly, as I was making this list, I realized that I do this for myself every season anyway, and I've been doing this for the past few years, where I just generally like consuming media that aligns with the season and has a greater theme or goal. For example, whenever it's summer, I tend to consume books that are set in the summer or movies that are set in the summer, and same goes for all the other seasons. And so I was planning on doing this anyway, but I really like the idea of having it as a set curriculum. Hopefully this inspires you to make your own personal seasonal curriculum, just because I feel like it really ties in with a core intention. This season, I really want to slow down and be present, although I do think that it's an intention that I give myself a lot. For example, every single time I'm in yoga class and the instructor is like, oh, what intention do you want to do today, guys? I'm always like, be present. I want to be present because it's very hard for me to really soak in the present moment. I'm always thinking about, okay, what's next? What do I have to do next? And I think there's a few ways that you can be present. And we're gonna start off in my first category, which is reading. Comes in two ways in my books. The first is picking books that are a little bit more challenging or slower paced and kind of not necessarily hard to read, but a little bit harder to read, because then it forces me to be present and pay attention. First book on my list is Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. This has been on my list to read for years, and I've started it many times and just couldn't get past the first 50 pages because I was like, this is kind of a drag. But I started again this past week and I pushed to the 100th page, and things are finally getting really interesting, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I do really like Russian literature because I feel like it's so it really feels like a saga, like a 10-season TV show. Very excited to continue Crime and Punishment. Then I have Forbidden Notebook by Alba de Cespeda. I actually don't really know what this is about, but what made me get this book in the first place was, one, I attended an event with Anne Goldstein, who is the translator for the Neapolitan novels and a lot of Elena Ferrante's books, and I really love Elena Ferrante's books. She was hosting an event for the release of this book. Alba de Cespeda was a predecessor and a really big inspiration for Elena Ferrante. And this novel was published many years ago, but for the first time it's being translated into English, which is really exciting. In the event, they were talking more so about Alba de Cespeda's work as a whole, as opposed to just this book, even though they did talk about this book, and they said it was kind of dark and introspective, which is why I think it would fit well with Crime and Punishment. Yeah, but then they were also really just talking about how she was a really prolific Italian writer who was often very vocal about her views, which did not always align with what was going on in Italian politics at the time when she was alive, which is in the 50s and 60s. And I believe Forbidden Notebook was banned at some point because of the ways that it kind of reveals gender, class, positions within a family, etc. So I think this will be very interesting and good to read. I don't have a copy of Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte yet, but I would love to read it sometime this season, if not in the winter. This one is a little bit more superficial, but I really just want to read it before the movie comes out on Valentine's Day next year. And I don't even really want to watch the movie at all, but I was seeing all the internet discourse about how people hated the trailer because of the way that Wuthering Heights is being pitched as this steamy romance, when really the book is not a steamy romance. So I want to read the source materials so I can fully understand the internet hate. The rest of the selection of my reading category is more so on being present, and what I mean by that is like reading timely things. So in my list that usually manifests as articles, I have a subscription to The New Yorker. Although if I'm being honest, I don't always read the articles in The New Yorker because like I can't keep up with it every week because there's so much other things I need to read. But I'm gonna try to like keep up with my publications that I follow. Another publication that I want to read from and that I recently subscribed to is the Paris Review. This is their fall 2025 edition, and I love this bunny. Like, this cover is so pretty. For the season ends, I do want to actually read all the short stories and the interviews and articles in here, as well as read stuff on their website as they're publishing it. And then I also plan on reading and keeping up with people that I follow on Substack. I love Substack. It's great. And then lastly, this is more books, but I'm currently reading The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is the October book of the month for Subtle Asian Book Club. And I feel like this fits more into the timely category because it is a book club pick. And so I'm talking about the book with other members of the book club. And so it feels like more of a relevant conversation that I need to read right now. But it's not necessarily like, oh, this was a recently published book or anything like that. I do think it is a very timely book though, because it's kind of like a witchy, spooky book, and it's very fun, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I'm really glad that we picked this as the book of the month. Next, doing, aka things that I'll be doing in order to align with my intentions a little bit more. And these are also just all activities that I love. Every year since moving to the East Coast, my boyfriend and I will go apple picking or do some sort of like day trip upstate, and it is the best time. So I am very excited to be doing that sometime this season. Now the next one I'm super excited for, which is journaling and collecting physical media. I've always been like big on journaling, but I don't know, I feel like this past like few months I've really just like been up in atoms with journaling in the best way. And I think it started with doing morning pages over the summer. I was doing them very consistently for like, I want to say 6+ weeks, but ever since I started my job I kind of have fallen off morning pages. But I am excited to journal more and to like bring my journal around everywhere. I've been trying to find ways to like get offline subtly, or like using my phone a little bit more intentionally, because I feel like I really do feel better after doing that. So one of my goals is to pick up a pen and journal instead of instinctively like picking up my phone, because a lot of times I'm like, oh, I want to look this up, so let me just pick up my phone and Google it, and then usually I end up on some like random internet tangent, and then I'm on my phone for like an hour and I had no idea that like how I got there. So I'm trying to like pick up my journal and write down like, oh, I wanted to look up this, and then just put it down, and then maybe at the end of the day or at my designated time I'll go and search up and do every single thing that I wanted to do on my phone later. I have not successfully practiced that, but that's my intention. I also recently got these beautiful leather notebooks from Paper Republic. They're engraved. Do you see this? It smells so good. I wish you could sniff this. It's so beautiful. And then there's this one. This one has my name on it. It's so cute. I want to bring this one with me everywhere. I put in my commonplace notebook, although I haven't really used my commonplace notebook very much because I don't really know how to use a commonplace notebook. And I also have this traveler's journal, which I got a few years ago, and I finally got around to like filling it up with my travels. This is my spread from when I went to Paris this past year. I like my travel notebook, but I do think it stresses me out because I want it to be like pretty, and then it takes so long to make it pretty. Like I have to set aside literally like 8 hours to do it, and then I'm not done. Like I spent 2 days on a few pages, and that's like an entire weekend. So No. Anyway, I've been collecting more and more journals and I'm trying to figure out like what system I want for every single journal. I do think they're all necessary, but I haven't found my system just yet because I just got my 2 Paper Republic ones. Once I add them into my daily routine and figure out how I will add them to my daily routine, then yes. Next I'll be drinking tea and warm drinks. I love warm water, and I feel like now that my frontal lobe has fully developed, I am not afraid to admit that because for some reason throughout all my childhood, I tried to convince myself that I liked ice cold drinks, but the truth is that I don't. I like warm drinks, like not piping hot, but warm drinks. I feel like I always feel so much better when I have like warm water as opposed to ice water. I do not like ice drinks. And I'm accepting that about myself, which I think is growth. So I'll be drinking warm water and tea. In addition to trying to get offline a little bit more, I will be doing social media office hours this season. And I have been doing them for like the past few months. And I think it's great. I saw this post somewhere, maybe on Substack, that was like, I wish social media closed up like a shop at like 6 p.m. and then everyone just like left. And then we come back in the morning at like 9 a.m. And when I was focusing on content over the summer and being more creative in digital spaces, I was trying to figure out a way to like create a little bit more like work-life balance because I'd often find myself like staying up scrolling on Instagram or like editing a video until like 2 a.m. or something and then feeling like really bad that I messed up my sleep schedule and going down like a downward spiral. And so I wanted to kind of have like these boundaries where I don't go on social media or I don't use social media after a certain point because I already spent so much time on it on the day-to-day. So I've been using this app called Opal to block my social media apps from 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. and it's been great. I've used a couple of like app blockers before, but I like Opal because you can like pause it or go back on social media if you need to at a certain point, but it forces you to like wait 20 seconds and take a few deep breaths before you can pause it. And so if it's something where it's like, oh, I'm bored, like I just want to like go on Instagram for that dopamine kick, you're usually too impatient to wait 20 seconds to do that. But if it's something where you really need to look something up, you still have the chance to do it. My next category is creating, and I would like to create more videos intentionally. I made a short form series over the summer and it had like a very clear intention, and for each video I scripted it and I had a shot list and kind of like went through a more thorough pre-production process, mostly because I just graduated from film school and I wanted to use my degree, and I was like, why don't I actually script my videos a little bit more thoroughly and actually use the things that I learned in college. And I want to do more of that because it was really fun. I don't know if I will have the capacity to do it while balancing like my full-time job, and I'm also going to be traveling soon and also the holidays are coming up, so I would love to make more high production videos where I put more thought and intention into the concept itself, but we'll see if that happens. Along with videos is film. I would love to take more film photos. I had a love-hate relationship with my film camera, which is the Contax T2. I've had this camera for many years and it was broken for many years, and I finally got around to repairing it over the summer. Literally 2 weeks after I repaired it, it broke again and it was not covered by warranty. But I told myself that if I got the job that I currently have, then I would repair the camera. I'm really glad that I ended up fixing it because I do love this camera and I do love like how the photos come out now that it is actually functioning as it should. The last thing I'll be creating or hoping to create is much more casual, is crochet and knit. I want to work on something like really small, like hand warmers, and I started crocheting hand warmers last year, and then I just stopped and gave up. So let's try and finish that before the season ends. My last category is playing. Starting off with music, I have a vast collection of vinyls. For autumn, I would love to specifically listen to more jazz because I feel like it's not autumn without jazz, but not just any jazz. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And this past week, I just came back from Leve's A Matter of Time concert. So I'll be listening to A Matter of Time and also all of Leve's other songs and albums. I think Bewitched is such a great autumn album, but I also really, really love her first album. And then I have a collection of other jazz. Ooh. Nat King Cole's There, I've Said It Again. Dakota Staton, The Late Show. I fully bought this at the record store because I love the art so much, and then I ended up really liking the music. Chet Baker, Reimagined. If I could say what my favorite album of the year is, it's probably this, which is kind of crazy. It's a bunch of like contemporary artists covering Chet Baker songs, or like reinterpreting Chet Baker songs, and I love that. Okay, of course, Chet Baker himself, Chet Baker Sings. This is probably my favorite album of his. Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington Songbook. Frank Sinatra's Swinging Sessions. This is fun, and I feel like you can listen to this over the summer too. And last but certainly not least, Folklore and her sister Evermore, which is over there, but I think Folklore more so is an autumn album, and then Evermore is more of like a winter album to me. And I have 2 movies. The first is Autumn Sonata. I gotta have a movie with the word autumn in it in my list. According to Letterboxd, is a mother and a daughter. What a terrible combination of feelings, confusion, and destruction. I believe it is about a mother who ended up pursuing a career as a classical pianist, but as a result abandoned her daughter, and they meet again for the first time in 7 years. One battle after another. This is more so a choice because it is timely and it just came out. I don't know much about it except Leonardo DiCaprio, and everyone keeps talking about how it's amazing. Those are all the things in my autumn curriculum, and I hope this inspires you to build your own personal curriculum and stay smart, my friends. I will see you next time. Bye!